Welcome to this very special edition of the Author's Voice with KAJ, a show where we explore the stories behind the stories. Here we dive into the worlds created by authors, discover their inspirations, and ensure that you walk away enriched and inspired. And today we have with us author Cyndee Dhalai. She is also a poet and will be talking. She's written two books. One is the poetry book called Pieces of Me, Touch My Soul, and the uh, other is Grief is the Price You Pay for Love. We'll talk about the second book, Grief is the Price We Pay for Love. Let's dive into the story with Cyndee. Welcome to the show, Cyndee.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Welcome once again to the KJ Masterclass, with this time on the author's voice with KJ. So glad to have you again. So let's talk about the book in itself. How did this journey about, writing for you begin? First the poetry and then this particular book. And this particular book, help the viewers know, this is under a pseudonym, Faye Alien. We'll get to the book part then.
Actually, I've always written in my mind, but I've never really put it on paper because it's sometimes, life comes in and you don't have time to really sit down and do like things. I'm with family and work and everything. And then in 2022, August the 25th, actually, that's when I first started writing because somebody who was very close to me asked me a question and they said, I need you to focus, just focus and give me an answer. And I sat down and I said, okay. And I wrote, and what came out was poetry. And from that, I just started writing poetry. It's like once I started writing, everything started coming out. And I did a poetry book first. And then, well, my husband had passed away in December, Christmas Eve in 2021. And I had been through a lot in life. And I thought I was managing with dealing with everything and with the loss and the absence. And then in November 2023, I had something come up that was very, very serious. And it kind of put me in a state where I realized that I wasn't really coping with everything. I was managing stuff, but I didn't really face everything. And the only way I knew how to express myself is through writing. And when you write, everything you feel comes out. And that's how the book came out. Grief is the price you pay for love. Run into the fire, discover me in the ashes, because I had to find a way to face everything that was going on and also find a way to move forward and create space so that I could still be present and do what I am supposed to do.
Absolutely, Cindy. We have the book on the screen, and it's so it's looking. The cover is great. What does this cover say about all this? That we talk about grief and love and the price and all that stuff.
Because when you go through, you see, if you ask someone what's the bravest thing you can do, they might say, okay, probably walk a tightrope between two tall buildings or go bungee jumping or something like that. But actually, the bravest thing you can do as a person is to love somebody, because you do understand from the time you love somebody that we are humans and that life is unpredictable and things can happen. And also, you take a risk. And when you do love someone, you give them a part of you and they become a part of you. So that is the most courageous thing you can do, loving somebody and having them in your life, because at the same time, the same way you love somebody, you can lose them, whether it's through that or whether it's through breakup in a relationship or something. But that's one of the most courageous things you can do, because you're doing it for yourself, from yourself. And that cover was because when you suffer a loss, whether it's breakup of a relationship, whether it's the death of someone, loss of a job, you do have to go through a period of grief and loss and kind of facing yourself and dealing with all the emotions that come up. And you have to go through a fire in a sense, in that you have to face what is coming. You will get a whole inferno of emotions. And then when you go through the fire, then you come to a place where you can understand things better, and you can sort of sift through the ashes of what you lost and build something from that. That's what the fire, that's why that picture was. Because it's the internal fire that is inside of you when you go through something. Yes, you may talk about it to people, but it isn't there inside of you. And you're the only one who have to face everything. So you face your own self, which is a fire, and you have to remove things that, you have to let go of all the some of the emotions that come up, like the anger and the resentment and stuff like that. So you burn away the bad things, you keep your memories, and you kind of step into yourself when you come out of the ashes, because then you find greater strength, and you might find a different way to move forward and create space around everything. And that's what the ashes are for, because the ashes are there to remind you that things happen in life, yes, but I'm still here, I'm still present, and I can still do things.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that was the cover part. What's inside the book, Cindy? How you have you? These are
Now,
very
the book,
difficult and difficult things to talk about. How have you dealt about this subject into your book?
well, I don't run from things in the sense that, something comes up, I don't bury it deep. So I had to face it. And this is about how you deal with grief and loss. Now, we all go through loss in different things. It doesn't have to, like I mentioned before, it doesn't have to be the death of someone. It doesn't have to be, you know, like a permanent thing. We all have grief, and we all have loss. Whether it's a friendship, whether it's a pet, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship that broke up, whether you have to move from a different place to another place, you do experience a loss in a certain sense. And the book covers that when you do feel grief, in this instant, it was the loss of my husband and the loss of something that was very, very important to me. And when you realize that it's a lot more than just the loss that you are facing, because you go through a whole torrent of emotions and people's reactions, and you get opinions, and then you have your own self to battle with. And this is what the book deals with. It deals with all the things, or some of the things that may come up when you are grieving, and it's messy, and you can't control it, and it is can be overpowering, and you do feel lost, and you do feel anxious, and a lot of emotions come up when we are told that, okay, after a certain time passes, everything's going to get better, and you just have to go with it and trust in God and do this and do that and whatever. And then you find yourself, when you're in the middle of that loss and what you're feeling, it does get deep in you, and you do lose the thread of hope. And sometimes all you're hanging on is by a thread, because you have responsibilities on one side to look after. Maybe you have children, maybe you have a home, maybe you have a job to go through, you have bills to pay, so you have to work and stuff like that and thing. So you don't really know how to separate, because you can't separate it, because it's in you. And that's what the book is about. It's about how you face it, and how you the things that come up that you don't expect. Because when I was looking at everything, I realized that every time that something bad happened in my life, because you do feel rejected, you do feel alone, you do feel criticized by people when you're going through grief, because people will tell you, you're not supposed to be that way. I thought you got over this by now. You should be stronger than this, or whatever, things like that. And that brought in all the times from the past that I was criticized, that I got disappointed, that I got, ostracized and stuff like that and thing, because that did happen when I was going through my grief. And you realize it's not confined to just loss and grief and the absence of someone, because it brings in everything from your past, because your mind is like a library, and it stores in all these books in your library every experience you've had in life. And when you go now and a new experience comes in, your mind will go back to that section that has all that is connected to what you're feeling, and it will pull it into your into the forefront. It's like you're doing research on a topic. You go to the library and say you're doing research on, say, religion, and you bring up all the books. The same way, when you're going through loss, your mind, or hurt, or all that is involved with grief, your mind will go back and pull up all the books. Well, you did feel, remember this person left you and how bad you felt, and this person told you that when you're criticized, and everybody told you it'll get better, but look what happened. So your mind will bring up everything. So it's not just the loss you're dealing with, you have to deal with everything else that comes up with it. And this is what that book is about. It looks into the fact that grief and loss and the absence that you feel is very deep, and it's not going to go away. It is never going to go away. As long as you're alive, it is going to be with you. And in the book, I also moved into the fact that you have to learn to create space around your grief.
Absolutely. So you talk about, about seeing through new eyes in handling grief and loss. Help us understand this part. Means, can one distance themselves from their grief and loss, see through new eyes?
Now, when I say see through new eyes, I mean you have to look at it as not really as if you're deserted or you're all alone, or that life is unfair, because that's what most people would think, that why did this have to happen to me? Why did this person have to die? And we had so much together, and I was looking forward to doing this, and I don't want to feel this way. Those are the normal reactions that people get. But when I say see through no eyes, I mean to look at it as how it is. Life is impermanent, and we have no control over life in any shape or form. We may manage things, but we have no control. And when you see through new eyes, what you are doing is you are looking at it as, I had a good experience. This was good, and you don't remember the bad things. You focus on, we created beautiful memories. We had this great, I had so much fun, and this person taught me a lot, and I learned a lot from this experience. And these are the things I took away from the experience. I learned to be strong. I learned to be patient. They helped me to grow as a person. I learned that I had probably a temper, and I learned to control it. And um, I learned how to probably skills that I never knew before. Um, I had support. I learned how to be supportive. So you see, that's where you take away. Instead of looking at what you lost, look at what you got from your relationship, or what you got from whatever happened. So when you see through new eyes, what you are doing is that you are balancing your loss with the beautiful things that you got from it. And also, what you are doing is that you are giving yourself permission to hold your loss in you, to hold the memories that you had in you, and to see what you can do now in your life.
Absolutely, what you can do now in your life. What are the solutions you have given in this book, Cyndee?
Well, there aren't really solutions, but what you can do is you can learn to manage and create space. Now, when I say create space, I mean that grief will always be inside of you. It's not going to grow, but it's also going to be there. But what you can do is you can see, there was a we, now there's just me. You and me, but now there's just me. And I am still here. I am still present. I accept my loss. I agree with what is no longer in my life, but I'm still here. So you can start it. And now, going through grief, it's not going to happen instantly, like in a few years or in one instant, because it will come back. It will pop up in the most unusual ways. A song, somebody says something, maybe you had a dream or something or whatever, it will come up. Now, journaling is good, because I know a lot of people talk about it, but to me, journaling is really good, because in a sense, what you do is when you write, you can't hide from yourself. You can't lie, because you know what you're writing down. But when you journal, let it be for a certain time. Don't just write and write and keep repeating the same thing over and over and over. You have to learn to control yourself to a certain extent. You write it. So when you go back, then you get an actual idea of how you are feeling in that time. And you see where you are. And sometimes you may see things that may surprise you. Okay. Also, reconnect to things you used to do before. Maybe you like reading, maybe you like walking or playing games or going out and doing a certain activity. Reconnect back to that and see that not as, you know, I don't, I want to do this. See that as honoring yourself and honoring what you had with someone else. Okay. Another thing is, do not deny the existence of the person, because someone will tell you, oh God, it's been 5 years and this person is no longer in your life, or this is no longer the same. But tell them why you keep talking about it and stuff like that. You should be moved. Yes. But at the same time, when you don't talk about, sometimes a memory pop up, oh, this used to be my, someone's favorite song or whatever. You are honoring that person's memory. You're honoring the connection you had and the impact you had in your life. And you're also sharing the joy that you had. So a simple way of, when people keep telling you, well, you should be over this, or you shouldn't keep bringing up this person because they're not here anymore, whatever. Just tell them, you said, listen, we all have different ways of dealing with people, of dealing with our memories. And my memory, what I want to do with my memory is I want to honor the person who was in my life, because I had good times. And this was something that I treasured. This music meant a lot to me. Also, you can join groups, maybe a community group. You can start giving to other people, because sometimes support is very important to people, you know, and you can go out and reach out and talk to other people and give support. Another way you can manage your grief is by doing something new. Maybe you wanted to travel somewhere, but you never did because, of things that happened. So maybe you can give yourself permission to do new things and explore what you want to do. And at the end of the day, you are not forgetting the person, or you in whatever way, when you're going through grief, you are not forgetting. What you're doing is you are accepting and agreeing that that loss, that person had an impact in your life, that you had all these things, good and bad, together. But you're also giving yourself permission to say, okay, um, I hold this in me, but what else is there in right for me? Because I am still here, I am still present, I am still breathing, and I'm still part of this world.
Absolutely, absolutely, Cyndee. So, who is this book for?
This book is for anyone who has suffered loss in any way. And grief and loss. It just is not confined to the death of someone, because you suffer grief and you suffer loss and you suffer pain when you have a breakup in a relationship, when one of your a good childhood friend goes away from you. You suffer grief when one of your pet dies. You suffer grief when you lose your job. You suffer grief in your relationships, breakup or divorce or separation from a child, or even your family. All those things, you do suffer grief. And the thing is, we don't put it as grieving. We just say, okay, this is something bad that happens. But the emotions you go through is grief, because you feel the loss of something. So it is for anyone who has ever known, like, even when you relocate from one place to the other, you do suffer grief and loss, because you miss where you used to be before. You miss the people around you. You miss the environment sometimes, or whatever. So in a sense, you do suffer grief and loss in many instances in life, not just with the passing of someone. So it is for anyone who wants to know more about what it is to feel loss and absence of someone, or absence of something in your life, the emotions you go through, things that come up. Because at the end of the day, feeling loss and absence is a deep personal experience. And no one knows how they're going to react when these things happen. Now, with my book, I was surprised because I just wrote. I mean, I wasn't really thinking too much about a lot of stuff. And then, like, um, the reactions I got from some people was very surprising because people personally who I know, they call and they'll tell me, Cyndee, you have no idea. This is exactly what I am feeling. This is what I'm going through. And like some of them had lost a spouse. So they said, this is, but just I couldn't put it into words. And it's like, you understand me. And I thought nobody understood what I was going through. And I tried to talk to it, and sometimes I can't even talk about it. But what you wrote is exactly how I feel. It's exactly how it is with me. It's just you put into words what I was feeling. And it connected with them and it gave them comfort in knowing that someone understood it. And they felt comforted and they were happy in a sense that, you know, that gave them a sort of understanding themselves even better because they didn't understand if this was right. They thought something was wrong with them. They weren't feeling normal. And it was amazing. And then there were some people who were going through loss, not the passing of someone in that sense, but like they had turmoil in their life with, people leaving their children and stuff like that. And they said, the part of the book that I have read, it is so good because it helped me so much. And I can actually connect to what you're saying. And it gave me so much comfort that I'm underlining some stuff. Because I was surprised actually when I went on Amazon and one of the reviews was, because I've gotten 5-star reviews, one of the reviews was that this guy was going through with his wife. She hasn't passed away, but she has cancer. And he understands exactly, the whole process. And he said this book has helped him so much. And the other reviews I read them, and I said, like, okay, this is what I intended. This is what I wanted. I wanted to give comfort and I wanted people to understand the whole thing and to know that somebody cares and stuff like that. And that's exactly what the book did.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in a nutshell, what do you want readers of your book to take away? Key insights, message that you want them to take away from it?
That grief and loss is messy, it's deeply personal. Nobody can tell you how to deal with it. Yes, you may have other people and specialists and things that are guiding you through it and offering help. But at the end of the day, it is your loss, it is your grief to deal with. And you have to find a way and you have to decide how you want to move forward, how you want to create space, what you want to do. Because life is impermanent, but there is a reason you are still here. Honor the memories of the person you lost or the things that happen in your life where you feel grief and loss. Honor the memories, agree with it, accept it. But at the end of the day, you matter. You are still here. And you can find a way to step out and to create space around the loss that you feel in any form. Because you have value. You are here for a reason. You have a purpose and you matter. So you decide what you want to do with it. Grief is a part of life because it happens every single day. Loss will happen in every stage of your life. But once you are still present and once you are still here, make the most of every minute of your life.
Absolutely. Make the most of every minute of your life. There is so much to learn from you about life, about grief, about how to take care of all these things. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, Cyndee. What is the best way for them to do so?
Um, my books are on Amazon.com. Grief is the price you pay for love. And there's also, that is by Faye Allian, which I wrote under a pseudonym. And also there's Pieces of Me Touch My Soul by Cyndee. Both are on Amazon at present. And there's also the author's website, fayeallian.com, that you can contact me with through.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the Author's Voice with KJ. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much, KJ.